Hi team, welcome back to LAB, and if you're new here then a very warm welcome to you indeed. So we are not on the corona theme for once, although this video does take into account the impacts of COVID-19 before you're wondering if it's totally irrelevant. So we're going to move off topic, but this is a topic that I've been wanting to cover for so long because there's been so much information flying around about the Sqe and so many things that I've wanted to tell you about and talk to you about. So I'm going to try and condense it into this video and not make it too horrendously long. Inevitably, there are going to be things which I don't cover in this video and questions that you have that I don't answer. So feel free to drop them in the comments box below and I will try to answer them, or I will point you in the direction of someone or something that can answer them. I've done quite a lot of videos about the Sqe before. I'll pop some of them up here, and I've also done now an Sqe playlist on the main homepage to my channel, so you can actually have a look at all things which are Sqe related if you want a little bit of background to this video. I am going to do a quick recap of what the Sqe is, what its significance is, so you should be able to watch this video as a standalone video, but there's a lot more information on my playlist as well. Okay, so what is the Sqe and why is it such a big deal? The Sqe, which is short for the Solicitor's Qualifying Examination, is the new universal set of examinations which will enable you to qualify as a solicitor. So it's replacing the law degree / GDL plus LPC element. If you want to qualify as a solicitor, you will now have to complete the 4 sections which compile the Sqe. And there is no way around it. There is no concession, no matter how much law you've done, no matter how many degrees you've done, everybody has to complete these 4 steps if they want to qualify as a solicitor. Why is this happening? Why is this happening now? Such a major shake-up from the old way of doing things. Well, the reason for this is a couple of reasons, I think. So first of all, over recent years there have developed a number of different pathways of qualifying as a solicitor. There's what I'd call the traditional route, which is LPC plus training contract. There's also the Silex route, there's also apprenticeship routes, and there are various other ways as well. And effectively what the Sqe does is standardise that process. It makes one uniform process that everybody has to go through to qualify as a solicitor. So it makes sure that everybody is of a uniform standard to practice. Also, as you have no doubt become familiar with, there is an extreme bottleneck when it comes to the training contract process. There are many, many more people applying for training contracts than there are training contracts available, which means there is a huge squeeze in the training contract market where everybody is trying to funnel through. And what the Sqe does is, by taking away that need for you to obtain a training contract, it therefore widens out that bottleneck and makes the profession more accessible. When is all this happening? Proposed implementation date of September 2021. That is what the SRA are saying, and I've checked the SRA guidance this morning, specifically in relation to COVID-19, and it says in relation to the Sqe, there is no indication the implementation of the Sqe will be affected. Transitional arrangements are in place for 11 years, so any delays for current students should not cause difficulties. Now, by way of background, September 2021 is not an arbitrary date. What the Sqe is it's also an end point for those who have gone down the solicitor apprenticeship qualifying route. So effectively, solicitor apprentices will have to take Sqe1 and Sqe2 in order to qualify as solicitors. So if it is not implemented by September 2021, it's going to cause major disruption for those people that were meant to qualify in September 2021. This gives me some confidence that the SRA are going to really push to keep this date, because it's going to cause major disruption if they don't. So September 2021 is the proposed date. I will also caveat with the fact that there is a whole hell of a lot to do before then if it's going to be ready to go. But the SRA says 2021 is still the proposed implementation date, so we're going to work with that. It also mentioned that paragraph that there is going to be a transition period. So effectively the LPC doesn't just die overnight in September 2021. There will be an overlap period where your LPC will still be a valid route into the profession. So if you are someone who is already studying their LPC or is due to start their LPC before September 2021, carry on, it's fine. You're not going to be kicked out and have to do the Sqe. But I would recommend to you that if you were planning on starting in September 2021 or afterwards, that you consider doing the new route. So what is the Sqe? Critically, the SQE is a set of examinations, it's not a course. So the LPC and the GDL are courses with an examination at the end. The SQE is not a course, it's purely a set of exams, and there are optional prep courses to run alongside that. This is the major difference in this system, is that there is no need for a law degree or qualifying law degree in order to qualify as a solicitor. You just need one, an undergraduate degree in any subject, does not have to be law or law related. 2, you need to pass SQE1 and SQE2, which I'm going to go into detail about in a second. 3, you need to pass a character and suitability test, which is basically a form to fill out in which you need to talk about any prior convictions, any financial issues, things like that. 4, you need to complete 2 years of qualifying work experience, and I'm going to talk about what that is in just a moment. So those are the 4 things that you need to complete in order to qualify as a solicitor under the new regime. And you can do those 4 things in any order. The only mandate is that you have to complete SQE1 before you complete SQE2, but the other elements you can complete in any order whatsoever. So let's talk about number 1, SQE1 and SQE2. So SQE1 is designed to test what would normally be tested in a law degree or GDL and some parts of the LPC as well. So this is your core modules, your core legal elements. And it's going to be a multiple choice exam. And this isn't the kind of multiple choice exam where the answers are very easy to tell which is the right one and which are the wrong ones. This is a multiple choice exam, which is a best answer scenario. So effectively, every single answer could be right, but you have to pick the best one. There's going to be 180 multiple choice questions, and it's a 2-day exam, which amounts to 11 hours. So it's not a straightforward exam. Do not think it's a get out of jail free card because it's a multiple choice exam, because it's not an easy multiple choice exam and will certainly require some kind of prep course if you have not done a law degree or similar. SQE2 is much more practical and will test things like advocacy, drafting, other skills that you would test on your LPC. As I mentioned, there are a number of universities and educational providers who are offering prep courses for SQE1 and SQE2, and this may be something that you might want to think about doing dependent on your level of previous legal knowledge or academia. Okay, so that's what the actual exams are going to look like. As I mentioned, there are a couple of other components. The second major one is this qualifying work experience. So you must complete 2 years of qualifying work experience. What is qualifying work experience? I'll tell you what, because I've got the handy SRA website in front of me. So qualifying work experience must be providing real life legal service in an environment where someone can develop the competencies needed to be a solicitor. It can be done in England and Wales or abroad through paid or voluntary work, face-to-face and using digital tools such as video and virtual meetings, but not through a simulated legal services environment. So super broad, basically. Anything in a legal environment constitutes qualifying work experience. However, you can only do this in a maximum of 4 establishments. So they're basically trying to prevent the situation where you do 100 one-week placements and make that your qualifying work experience. You can only do it in a maximum of 4 establishments. However, I am going to let you into a little secret here, actually, because you know I've talked about Flex before, which is an agency which matches paralegals with varying different types of legal work experience. If you join Flex and you obtain a number of placements through Flex, which would actually be great for you to get as much experience as you possibly can, it will only count as one of those providers because effectively you are employed by Flex and you're being placed at a number of different establishments. So it will still only count as one of your placements, even if you have multiple work experience placements within your time at Flex. So that's a little loophole. And you should have a look at Flex anyway if you're looking for any kind of legal work experience, because they're absolutely brilliant. I'll link them and all the details below. Because the qualifying work experience is so broad, if you are looking to go into a role like a paralegal role or any kind of legal role which you want to use as part of your qualifying work experience, I would recommend that you have that discussion at the outset when you apply for the role to make it clear that's what you'll be doing and to make sure that your role will fit within that, because a solicitor, a qualified solicitor, has to sign off that you've completed your qualifying work experience. So it makes sense to find a said solicitor who's going to sign you off and make sure that you are doing the work that will fulfill those criteria to make sure you can be signed off. So If you're unsure, make sure you make that point to your employer that that's what you're doing, and make sure that you are doing what's necessary in order to qualify. I already covered character and suitability test, fairly straightforward, probably not an issue for the vast majority of you who are watching this, but if you do have any past misdemeanors, make sure you declare those or they can come back and bite you later on. The fourth thing is to have an undergraduate degree. Can be anything, does not have to be law related. That is the critical difference. Okay, so that is in essence what the Sqe is and everything you need to know about that. So how does this practically impact you? Well, it depends what stage of the process you're at. If you're already enrolled in the LPC or you've already secured a training contract, do not worry about this at all. Just proceed down the route that you were already going to go down. There is no need for you to be concerned about the implementation of the Sqe route. If you're planning on studying a GDL in September 2021, or you've already enrolled in a GDL, the position is much the same. I would continue with your proposed GDL, and the option to do the Sqe exams would be open to you after you've completed your GDL. And if you've studied the GDL, you could probably go straight in and take your Sqe1 exams, probably without a prep course, although that would be entirely up to you as to whether you wanted to do it. But the Sqe1 will test a lot of the things that you've learned on the GDL. But importantly, there'll be no concession just because you've done the GDL. That doesn't mean that you can miss out the exam or that you don't have to take the whole Sqe1. Everybody has to do it, even if you've done a law degree or a GDL. If you were thinking about studying your GDL in 2022 or later, this is where you've got a bit of a decision to make, because at that point, the route is going to be firmly in place if the SRA is to be believed on the implementation date. And a lot of new starters will be coming through on the Sqe route. And although there is a transition period, probably legal establishments are going to look to recruit people who are on the same path. They're not going to want a split cohort, basically, of some people who are on the Sqe route and some people who are on the LPC route, because it's going to make it difficult to train those people together. So most firms, I would think, are going to look to make the transition to the Sqe quite soon after it's implemented. So it's worthwhile having a look at this and seeing if this applies to you. If you were planning on studying the GDL in 2022 or later, you do have a lot of time to make this decision. You do not need to enroll on your GDL now or any time soon. I enrolled on my GDL a couple of months before I did it, I think, and this happens regularly with people who get offered training contracts in August and then suddenly need to start their GDL in the September. You can do this, so you do not need to make this decision right now, and you can see how the landscape unfolds, see if it actually does become implemented in September 2021, see how firms are reacting, see how the market reacts. You've got loads of time, so you don't need to panic about this right now. If you are at a much more junior stage of the process and you're contemplating whether or not to even do a law degree, again, that is completely up to you. Doing a law degree is now not essential, but it's certainly not going to hurt you if your intention is to become a lawyer, and it will also make the process of taking Sqe1 a lot simpler, because you probably won't need to do a prep course unless you want to. So it's not a complete waste of time doing a law degree at all. There's a lot of valuable skills that you learn, and it will help you to pass Sqe1. So if that was your plan, I would stick with it. There's no need to abandon that. So how are recruitment practices going to change as a result of the Sqe? This is a much more interesting question, because this opens up the market massively, and it means that law firms now have the option to recruit in a totally different way if they want to. However, I attended an Sqe focus group at the end of last year, note this video, which lots of different representatives of lots of different law firms attended, and there was a general discussion about how law firms are looking at this. Now, there was no fixed programme from anyone in particular. However, what I noticed about the discussion was that generally law firms are looking to recruit in a very similar way to how they do now. Effectively, they may well offer out new style training contracts to graduates a couple of years in advance. During those couple of years, they may well put you through Sqe1, Sqe2, perhaps alongside a prep course, and then you would start your 2 years qualifying work experience after that. So very similar to the traditional training contract. Or they might find that they start you on your 2 years qualifying work experience, aka new style training contract, straight away upon completion of your degree, and you're put through the process of Sqe1, Sqe2, perhaps with a prep course, or perhaps not, dependent on the firm, alongside those 2 years. but the process of recruitment seemed to look fairly similar in terms of how they were going to recruit, the process that they were going to use to recruit, the timeframes. So it seems as though a lot of law firms are going to be recruiting in much the same way. I think where the Sqe comes into its own a little bit is the fact that you now don't have to qualify via a training contract or via a law firm. This is the biggest difference, that now you are very much in control of how and where you qualify. You just have to do those 4 things in whatever order you like, whenever you're ready, and then you will be a qualified solicitor. There is no need to secure a training contract. And one of the issues why there was such a bottleneck in the training contract process was because only certain types of legal business could offer a training contract because the criteria were very strict. And this is what caused this bottleneck, is because only certain providers could offer training contracts, albeit that there were lots of legal jobs out there available. You could only get training contracts at a certain number of them. So you would find particularly people, for example, who had ideals of going to work in-house, they couldn't just go and work in-house. They had to go through the training contract bottleneck only to go and work in-house. Whereas now, you can just go straight to work in-house. You don't have to funnel through here to go out here. You can effectively just go straight to the business that you want to work in, do your qualifying work experience there, pass your exams, get a job there. No need to go via a law firm or via an establishment that was regulated to provide training contracts. So I think this gives you an opportunity to really look at the market and decide what it is you want to do, because there are many, many more options outside of private practice, and you now don't have to qualify via private practice. You can go straight into the type of job that you want to go into. I think one thing which you might be thinking right now is that this is great. I'm now in complete control of my own destiny and how and when I qualify. I'm just going to go off and do my qualifying legal work experience, 4 different establishments, take my exams, pass my exams, and then I'll look for an NQ job once I'm qualified. I think that sort of attitude might get you into a very, very sticky situation when you come to look for a newly qualified job, because we haven't created infinitely more jobs. We've opened up the profession and made it more accessible, but we haven't actually created new jobs. And there are still many, many more people applying for legal jobs or looking for legal jobs than there are jobs available. So you need to look ahead a little bit here. And I think when you are looking to do your qualifying work experience and your Sqe, it pays to have a discussion with your employer that you're doing qualifying work experience with as to whether there would be an NQ position available for you, because that's the ideal scenario, is that you already have a position available for you upon completion of your qualifying work experience. Because if you don't, then there is a danger you're going to end up as a qualified solicitor but unable to find an NQ job. So I do think you need to put a little bit of foresight into this and a little bit of planning if you are planning to go down that route, and just make sure that that is a viable route for you. Cost? What about the cost of this? Interesting question, and it's not quite been nailed down yet, but the estimated cost is £10,000. So the estimated cost of the exams plus the necessary prep courses are £10,000. The exams on their own, somewhere between £3,000 and £4,000. And if you're prepared to do that without any prep course, then it's going to be a lot cheaper for you. But with a prep course combined, this is information from Barbary International, have said they're aiming to keep the cost of qualification under £10,000. I think those are all the issues I'm going to go through today, because I can already see how long this video is. But if you do have other questions, please put them in the box below and I will attempt to answer them, or send me a message and I will try to do that. I hope this video has been helpful, and please do give me some feedback, and I will catch you again next week. Bye guys.